Starting links. Approximately at this point they're 5/16, of an inch longer. I think these are long enough. So I have some aluminum tubing and a sleeve, the 2mm rod. Issue is going to be shocks. I was hoping these rod ends I bought, 2mm through, but the ball is huge. I was hoping that these would snap onto the existing ball studs, but that ain't gonna happen. So I'm gonna have to double up with some loose ball ends, but I need to find something that fits my shocks. Details. Doesn't matter how many parts you have, it seems like you never have what you need. Found balls. These are the stock rod ends out of my Ascent 18. They're the same as what's used in the FCX24 shocks. They're a little narrow, but I can just use a washer to get enough space on either side. Crisis averted. Got the links made. Actually ended up like about 3/8 of an inch longer. I'll make a measurement. I found some very cheap drive lines. And this one's going to be perfect. I'll add a link to it and the measurement. Going to hack up the stock frame. My initial thought was end to end. These just butt together. And you can run a long screw through the two boxes. You still need to make a gusset plate on the outside, I believe. All this stuff above the top is getting cut off eventually. This frame steps down both ends, so there's all kinds of room for the servo, and it's a little tight in between here. And I also noticed, probably too close, the front half is about a little over a 1/4 inch longer, so I'm going to use that, I believe. I've been eyeballing this for about 2 hours. And I need to get this on there somehow to figure out how I'm going to do the upper link mount. But I'm going to use the front half, butt it up so I can do the screw, and then this is the cut line, so this will go away, this will go away, and then all of this needs to be cut out. And then I'm going to add this. Let's see. I mean, I was just doing this. I already started hacking. I cut out the transmission mount and remembered I was going to try and document this. Anyway. Cut this flush, cut all this stuff off, which will get rid of this plate. Cut this one out, cut it about here, probably in half, which will do two things. Let me bolt this together it'll give me some clearance issue. But with all this stuff gone, I can spread these two rails a little bit. And with this drop down, it'll give me maybe a bumper mount or something. I want to stay pretty close just to clear the servo horn. It may not work down. I'm going to try to use the stock Y. It may be a little short now that I've extended these links. Looks like it might work. If I have to, I can make 2 links. I don't know anything about suspension geometry. I know going up, it won't move. So it has to pivot in on itself. So this needs to be fairly low, but if you look at the stock ones, you can see the angles. So hopefully when I come up to designing the mount for this, I can make allowances so this could be adjustable to get free movement of the back axle. Articulation wise, it doesn't really seem to make that much difference, but it's just the both tires coming up at the same time that this upper link can cause it to bind. To be done. Right now it's just hacking up this frame. See what I can come up with. I'm just using a hacksaw. Could get out the Dremel. But I think that'll work. Let me join this. Just longer straight for whatever's going on top of this. I drop down for the back bumper. I'm clearing the servo. Again, I'll have to spread this to get more clearance for the servo. Anyway, enough of this. So I'm going to be hacking. I'm not going to film it. Again, I'm using the front half of the A-stock frame, cutting it flush between this, the mount box and the front frame horns, so that this is flat across. I'm going to cut it in half here someplace. Cut all this out. This one will already be gone. Talking out loud again. And second cut. And get the web cut out of that. Filing. And you can see how much the frame kicks inside. And before I cut off the length, check with a lighter, and heating this up, bends pretty easy. So I'm thinking I'm going to cut this out here, and then I can heat this and try to fold it in both sides, and that will give me possibly a place to mount the back bumper or push bar. More cutting. And joined. It's a YouTube miracle that I got those holes lined up, going through all 4 of those pieces. The back half I was able to get in the drill press and just and then I held it up there and pushed the drill bit through there. Not for a normal person. And use these little vice grips to grab the drill bit and spin it while trying to hold these flush to mark it, and then drilled it. And they actually lined up. I'm just amazed. The screw just barely pokes through, but I'm calling it good. Plus, whatever I put on top will stiffen this up, but it's pretty strong. And then I can spread this, make sure I have clearance for the servo, which I took apart. I'm going to, file the opening so that the wire comes out toward the back so it doesn't get caught in this mess. But yeah, this worked. I'm just amazed. Yeah, but I need to make a spreader just to make sure it clears the servo. What's next? Clean that up, remount the servo, and then start looking at the upper Y-link, how to mount that. This is a milestone. I got the upper Y mounted, and it works. I thought I was going to use the stock one, but trying to make a drop down, I just kept running into stuff, and I happened to get on YouTube and I saw a video, like a 7-year-old video. They made the upper link between the two axles, and I was like, that doesn't work, but it does. It does pull. But I don't know, I'm just stoked. That upper link had me going. These are two of the Ascent 18 stock links. I didn't get a measurement before I bent it. The ends, let's see, does that show? Just a little bit so that the ball joint where the screw goes through is kind of flat. So it's a double bend. Use 2 screws to go to the upper mount on the middle axle, and then on the back to get a mount I used a piece of 2mm rod, all thread, and then nutted it on either side of the ball. I don't know, it just worked. It's pretty hokey. We're at the hacking stage just to make it work, but I don't see any issues with this. Other than that, it pulls the center, pulls the back, but I'm assuming once the shocks are on there, which will tell all, that it may just roll a little bit. Got the drive line mounted, that worked out slick. I'm ready to put the shocks on. Probably it won't be quite as steep as this one. Actually, this one I think I'm going to move back just a little bit to give it more push. It's pretty soft. That this is actually coming together is kind of surprising me. Just kind of problem at a time, letting it solve itself. The upper mount, though, for the drop down for the upper mount, though, just wasn't working because I had to bolt something on there, so it took up space and it was just interfering. Plus I have this double box here that's about where it needed to go. Get the shocks on there and I could test drive it and see if it will function. In case it's not obvious, I don't have the back axle drive pins in there. I'm watching the back axle suspension. That's pretty cool. Okay, rear drive pins are in. Rotated the middle shocks back to match the back ones. pretty amazed and stoked that it actually works. This was the main heart of the project. I still have to wire in the back servo. I want to add tail lights, tires and wheels, but that's later. The body, I would like to find another body, just because these are pretty big. Let me cut this down. But chop top. Pretty amazing. That was actually a fun project. A little frustrating. And I still have, like I said, quite a bit of work to do. For the back, I keep thinking of a tanker truck, although I'm not sure what I could use. Obviously that's too tall. And it'll sit down lower once I cut all this stuff off. Probably want it about as high as the bed. To be done. Yeah, other than wiring in the servo and the taillights, do the rear bumper, and then try to figure out the bed thing. Cool. So that's the end of this. If and when I get around to doing the body, I'm pretty sure I'm not doing a flatbed. Record doesn't really interest me, but so it's coming up with something else. Dump truck would be cool. Anyway, actually a dump truck would be easier. It's all down the road. So it is doable. It would be a lot easier if you made your own frame. So cutting this thing up to make it work, but it did. And again, it might be worth buying the Furitech frame or the Atlas frame. Anyway, I need a color. I think it depends on what it ends up being. Tanker truck could be a fire truck tank. Anyway, it's all FCX24 parts except for the driveline I replaced and the 4mm rod and aluminum tubing and link ends to make the rear links. Package of 125 mini plugs. Cool. Later.